Good morning to us students. Today we're going to start a new chapter, Chapter 7, Energy of the Cell Functioning. Before starting with any activity, we need to know what is respiration in the human body. Respiration in the human body is divided into two types. An external respiration that occurs at the level of the lungs, where the oxygen diffuses from the lungs to the blood. However, carbon dioxide diffuses in the opposite direction from the blood to the lungs. The other type of respiration is the internal respiration that occurs at the level of the cells, where oxygen diffuses from the blood to the cells. However, the carbon dioxide diffuses in the opposite direction from the cells to the blood. Now we're going to start with activity 1, cell respiration. To follow up with me, please open your books to page 112. In order for the human body to function properly, it requires energy. Just as what we saw in the previous chapter, the energy is obtained from oxidation of nutrients in the cells in the presence of oxygen. Therefore, cells should be provided with oxygen. And that's why cellular respiration is essential. I introduced before in the previous slide cellular respiration, which means internal respiration. What is the definition of cellular respiration? Cellular respiration is the process by which oxygen diffuses from the blood into the cell. However, carbon dioxide diffuses from the cell into the blood. Keep in mind that also microorganisms such as yeast, algae, or bacteria respire oxygen as well. So in order to reveal the cellular respiration, this application is presented in front of you. We're going to solve the questions together so that you get used to solving similar exercises. An experiment was done to detect cellular respiration. The experimental steps were carried as follows. Two tubes A and B containing calcium hydroxide are linked to a jar containing colored water. Fresh muscles or fresh muscle tissues are added to one of them, which is tube B, while not the other, which is tube A. Finally, the calcium hydroxide solution appearance was monitored in the two tubes, and the amount of oxygen was measured in both tubes at the same time. Note, calcium hydroxide, or what we know as lime water, absorbs carbon dioxide and becomes turbid if present. Question number 1. Pick out the objective of the experiment. You can easily pick it up from the given. The objective of this experiment is to detect the cellular respiration. Question number 2. Name tube A and indicate its importance. In tube A, we have no muscle tissues. In tube B, we have muscle tissues. So the only variable would be, well, all the other conditions are exactly the same. So tube A is a control tube. Indicate its importance. Its importance, it is used for comparing the results of tubes A and B at the end of the experiment. Question 3.1. Name the gas that turned calcium hydroxide turbid in tube B. The gas is carbon dioxide. Question 3.2. Draw out the origin or the source of this gas. The fresh muscle, which is the only variable as you can see in the document, the fresh muscle produces the carbon dioxide. Question number 4. Formulate a hypothesis that explains the rising of colored water in tube B. Hypothesis: the level of the colored water rises in order to compensate the amount of oxygen absorbed by the muscle. We're back to the given. Document 2 shows the measurements of oxygen gas in tubes A and B. As you can see, document 2 shows a graph that shows the variation of the amount of oxygen in tubes A and B as changing as a function of time. Question number 5. Interpret the variation of oxygen. Answer. At the beginning, after half an hour of starting the experiment, the amount of oxygen was 21 milliliters in tubes A and B. As time increased from 0.5 to 2 hours, the amount of oxygen decreased to 2.5 milliliters in tube B, where the muscle is present, but it stayed constant at 21 milliliters in tube A in the absence of the muscle. Thus, the muscle consumes oxygen gas. Question number 6. Derive a conclusion. The answer: the fresh muscle respires. Question number 7. Convert the graph into a table. The first row is supposed to be the x-axis. The second row is supposed to be split into two rows where we have the quantity of oxygen for tubes A and B. The title is Table that shows the variation of the quantity of oxygen as a function of time in tubes A and B. Kindly copy the content of this video neatly on your copybooks and let me know if you have any questions. We'll continue this chapter, Activity 2, in the next video.